How do you think a modern parent should be?
Modern parent in the sense, we should first focus on the time they are able to spend with the children. These days, the parents, they are not able to give enough time for the children.
The most simple thing the parent can do is get storybooks to make them read. Get them away from the gadgets, make them read and do small things.
Read out to them. Children learn through everything. Even cartoons can be a way of teaching children. So from every angle, the child is able to learn.
Parents must also be updated about maybe the social culture which is among the teenagers, for them to accept, okay, this is right and this is wrong.
Again, modern world and things like that, parents need to change their perspective towards these dating and things like that. You tell the children that you must know what your limit is, and accordingly talk to people. Unless you get to know the person, you think that person is right for you, do not indulge in sexual acts and things like that. Anything physical should not be done unless you are sure that is a person for you.
Welcome to another episode of Leaders in Learning, the podcast where we bring you valuable insights from educational leaders. I'm Madina Mariam, psychologist and Director Student Initiatives and Enrollment at Ashoka World School. So today we are exploring a subject that deeply resonates with a lot of parents around us, which is on how to parent children in this modern world. And with me, I have two esteemed guests today who are experienced principal and who work very, very closely with parents and families. So my first guest for today is Srikala Karunagaran. She is the principal of SBOA School, and she's a principal with over 25 years of experience. And ma'am, you've won a lot of awards in your career and in your bio. And the recent award, she's been awarded by NCRT for her innovative practices. And my other guest for today is Ms. Sriju Thomas. She's the principal of Ashoka World School. And she's a well-known principal for her capability in bringing up startup schools, and she has led two of them to great success. And her school has also been awarded as the best affordable school last year. I welcome both of you to this show, ma'am. So let's dive in right to the question. There's a lot of difference in how parenting has to be done in this new age with the intervention of AI and a lot of technology, and how students or children have evolved now. So how do you think a modern parent should be?
Modern parent in the sense, we should first focus on the time they are able to spend with the children. These days, the parents, they are not able to give enough time for the children, especially because they're working outside. Both the parents are working. So when they come back home, they have a little time. The children are in schools most of the time. They come back home. The time they spend with the children, that should be quality time. These days, everybody is with their mobiles, whether it is parents or children, they're all with their
That's
mobiles.
how everybody de-stresses,
Exactly.
comes back and relaxes.
I think
And they feel, they all need their own personal time rather than time together as a family.
Yes.
So, parents should start thinking about spending more time with their children rather than with their mobile phones, because the children are going to emulate the parents as well. So they need to set examples by, interacting with their children, giving active listening. They should be listening to the children. You see parents looking at their mobile, answering the children without even paying attention to what the child is saying.
Yes.
We bring up children in that way. When they become adolescents, when you want them to share things with you, that is not going to happen. Unless and until right from their young age, parents are actively listening to their children, they won't be able to confide in their parents when they grow older.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing that you
rightly said, ma'am. Actually, I think the word modern parenting itself tells that there is a big difference between the parenting which we have gone through and what the young parents are doing now. I think, as you rightly said, use of mobile phones might have taken a lot of time, where they don't find time to sit and talk with the children. But I think now the new parents must find time, especially at dinner time, because that's the best time, because morning there are various people leaving out at different
Everybody is
timing.
rushing out, yes.
Children are also going. So I think dinner time is a time where they can sit together, talk, discuss. Not only discuss about general things, but I think they must speak about their day. The parent or the father and the mother must talk about how they spent their day, strength and weaknesses, success and failure of that particular day, where the child is motivated to talk about, okay, this is something which even I had in my day to day. I think when I share this problem with my father today, I might get a solution for it. Or it is okay. My amma has also got a failure. So that is okay. Let me also face a failure in life. So that gives a lot of confidence for the child. So I think that talk time is something very important. Mobiles are actually eating away that time, is what I can say during this modern age.
Yes, she stressed very much on the importance of, communication where it is fear-free. A safe
Yes,
communication,
yes, yes. Safe space.
environment. That is very, very important because, children tend to think that, they need to hide things from their parents.
Yes.
But if you create an atmosphere where the children are allowed to say about all their mistakes, things they, happened wrong in school, whatever it is, they must be able to share. That kind of an atmosphere has to be created where she actually said, the parents also must be able to talk about their failures.
Yes.
But is that an easy thing to do for a parent? Because a parent has a perception that I need to be a role model or children need to look up to me. So, in that scenario, is it easy sharing your flaws as a parent?
I think the parents must be able to break the mask which they have, called the ego mask, where yes, I have to admit that I don't have success in my life always. I have troubles, maybe at my family, maybe in my workplace, maybe the society which I'm moving around. But the parent must be able to come out of that mask and tell the child, yes, I do have failures. Yes, I do have successes also. But I take both in the same manner. I balance both. That is how life goes on. This brings in a lot of resilience in the children. They'll be able to face the world. They'll be able to accept failures which come their way. I think that is something which the parent, that is how they get the confidence also. I would also like to add on to what ma'am said, like when children are talking about their mistakes, I usually find parents like they immediately bounce on them and say that, why did you do that? This is not how it is. When they start reacting that way, it's very difficult for the child to open up next time. Oh, Amma's going to shout at me or Appa's going to punish me for this. So then let me not tell this to my parents. So I think that is where the parent needs to be very careful about the reaction, that I will not shout at my child for that. Let me stay quiet. Let me listen to what he or she has to tell me. And then maybe at a later time, give that as a proper advice or a proper comment to the child so that the child understands, okay, when I'm at worry, when I'm at trouble, I have a parent whom I can approach, whom I can always rely on, and I'm not left without anybody. So that is one confidence which we can give.
So, in schools now, do you see parents who get really upset? Like, I think maybe when they come for open houses and everything, are there still parents who get really upset and get angry and everything?
Absolutely. Whatever you come, tell parents should be. Modern parenting is all about, caring for the emotional balance of the children and things like that. Gentle parenting. But what happens, when it comes to marks, parents still feel marks are more important. They yell and shout at the children, even in front of the teachers. They don't even wait for going back home and, confronting the child regarding that. So, come what may, marks still play a very important role. So I think parents should think, they should understand what their children are capable of. Sometimes, the marks may be, lesser or poorer, not because the child is not intelligent. The child might not have worked.
True.
So, if the parent goes back and ensures that the child works, the child will get back to, track and, performing well.
So now that you said that, I think parents would like to know what can they do to make sure that the child studies or learns how to learn from a young age.
Putting them on a timetable and setting it. I am trying to tell from the point of view of my daughter. Till she was a small child, I used to study with her, literally make her, just before the examination, I get everything ready. So when she was in till 6th standard, I cared for her. I was there to support her. When she came to 7th standard, I said, you should start working on your own. I'm going to let go of this. So, and I see that the first term examination, I just check on her questions and I find out that she has not learned anything for the exam. And throughout the night, it's a night runner. Both of us sit and study, and somehow I get her to pass. From the next examination, we plan. We understand this is the examination coming up. This is the timetable. I prepare a timetable for her. For every exam, I started preparing a timetable for her where she has to follow that routine. So we divide the portion to cover the portion, how many days it needs to finish the portion. So we plan it accordingly. So if she needs 4 days to finish science, I give 4 days in the timetable. So we start planning like that, and she starts studying. So parents should set in a systematic approach towards how the child learns.
And also, I think you let her experience what a failure is.
Facing the consequences
Correct.
of not being prepared.
Yes, so that is very important, because right now children are very fragile, because parents try to make sure that everything is comfortable for them. Whatever we did not get as a child, we need to give it for our children, or else we are bad parents. So that is the psyche that they have. So building
I would like just to go back to the point which ma'am was talking about. When a parent reacts for the marks, why don't parents react when the child is not behaving properly? Why are they reacting only for the marks? That's something which the parents, if a child is not obeying them, or if the child is not following a school rule or a policy, why aren't the parents not reacting, is my question. Why
or
aren't they?
even when a child is not creative enough,
Yes.
or even when a child is not thinking enough.
Why aren't they reacting for that? Why are they reacting only for the marks?
Probably because through gentle parenting, they've already become gentle parents. They cannot react to a lot of things, except when it is very harsh situations.
Yeah.
There are many parents who throw up their hands. They come and tell, ma'am, you take care of the child. I am not able to track, or I am not able to follow up on what his behavior is. Many parents tend to do that. So I think, it is very important to set rules. We must give them a lot of freedom, but limitations, the boundaries they set for the children.
Striking that balance.
Exactly.
No?
Striking the balance of boundaries.
Discipline
So
and
that is
freedom.
very, very important. So if there is something that goes wrong, what the consequences would be, the parent should sit the child down and talk to the children. Say that these are the consequences if you do this. And there should be a rule set, just like we make classroom rules, there should be, rules to be followed at home as well.
True.
And it should be followed by everybody in the family. It's not just the children. It should be for everybody.
I think this reminds me of a small video which I saw recently, where the father shows how he has to behave, and the child is exactly following what the father is doing. So that's where we tell the parents are role models. So there I would like also to say, there are parents who talk bad about the teachers at home in front of the children, which actually creates a bad impression for the child about the teacher, and does not bring in that value for the teacher, and the child doesn't behave properly in the class, or doesn't respect the teacher. The same attitude has been shown by the child in the class also. So I think parents must be very careful when they talk about a teacher or about the school in front of the child.
Especially with teenagers, I feel.
Exactly.
Because teenagers, that is the time when teenagers start realizing that parents are not always right. Teachers are not always right, and they start finding their own freedom, and they start figuring things out on their own. So
Because few of them are already rebels. So
Yes.
this will actually add on to them, and this will create a mess that will backfire on the parents, which the parents don't actually realize, which they realize at a very later point, when there is no time for correction or doing anything. The same thing which ma'am said about gentle parenting. They are very gentle, and there's a stage when they come to adolescent age where they cannot do anything. Rectification is not possible, and they themselves sit and cry over it, that we should have rectified them, or we should have done something for that at an earlier stage. So I think gentle parenting should change in this
I
modern
think that
era.
again goes back to what we started off with, because ma'am, you had mentioned that either that the parent is too busy to pay attention to a child when the child is all full of energy and wants to share things, and when they reach the teenage years, they don't want to share. And
Exactly.
they think parents are not going to understand.
Yes.
And even if we go and tell them we are like friends, it's never a friendly relationship with teenagers.
I think with what you said now, ma'am, parents must also be updated about maybe the social culture which is among the teenagers, for them to
Yes.
accept, okay, this is right and this is wrong. Earlier days, I think if there's a boy and girl who's talking, that is always seen in a very wrong way. But now it's become very casual. Not all the parents are accepting it. Some of them still have that eye of, no, you cannot move around with a boy, or you cannot
And I
move around with a
feel
girl.
that is not the case with the parents alone. It's with the teachers as well.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Many
So-
parents tell me the teachers are
Parents
finding
are
faults with the
teachers,
children
teachers are
when children,
parents.
boys and girls are just talking to each other. They look with the wrong,
I think
approach.
they must know the difference. Are they talking, or is there anything really fishy about it? So they must be able to identify and then talk to the children
speaking
about
of
it.
that, how will a parent address sexual hygiene, sexual behaviors, and sex education in general and also about dating. I see that a lot of children who are 15, 16, 17, even when we go into cafes and everything, we see a lot of children there on dates because they are a little more open now than a previous generation. So, how can a parent handle this?
I think, coming the think again, modern world and things like that, parents need to change, their perspective towards these dating and things like that. You tell the children that, you must know what your limit is and accordingly talk to people. Unless you get to know the person, you think that person is right for you, do not indulge in sexual acts and things like that. Anything physical should not be done unless you are sure that is a person for you.
I think these are also things that concerns the parents because as schools also there would be certain requirements that the parent has, right? Like in terms of sexual classes and how do we make them aware and all those things. So
I think there, with what ma'am said, we are not going actually deep into it, but then there must be a culture where the parents allow the girl children to wear, okay, this is how you dress up for this particular place, or this is how you dress up for this particular place. There must be a decorum given to the children. I think even that leads to a lot of other causes or problems. So
But the girls are actually crying, why are you limiting us?
yeah,
and not the boys.
Not the boys. They should be trained to look at the girls respectfully.
Yes.
That is what the girls are saying.
Yes.
Why should we dress for why can't the boys be taught?
No, I think just like how a child grows or evolves, the parent also evolves over years. So there's a lot of transition that they go through. And in that process, there's a lot of learning for a parent from and a lot of reflection that they need to do. As a parent, what are the few things that I need to let go of my ego? Like you were saying, that mask of ego. And a lot of parents, I've heard them say the dialogue, this does not happen under my roof, not under my roof. So that is really upsetting for a child to hear. So how can parents of this age and or what is your take on such parents, or how do you think that parents can be educated or told there are certain things that you need to do differently rather than always blaming a teenager because they're going through a transition age and that is inevitable in everybody's life?
First thing I would suggest that the parents understand who the friends of the children are.
Yes.
They need to get to know the children's friends better, their families, so that the parent can keep a track on the child, at the same time know what the child is going through and how his relations are and things like that. And give an atmosphere where the child can come and speak everything to you. The child should not fear coming and sharing things with the parent. And the parent should be open to listening to whatever the child comes and says. These days, earlier on, we only used to hear about genders, male and female. This year, all kind of queer people are there. In-betweens are there.
Yes.
So you never know what the child is going through. So the parent should keep everything open, must be ready to listen to what the children are saying, be supportive. Not interfere. Be supportive is what I would say. And tell the children, whatever you're doing, I am there to back you up. That, when children do the right things, I am your father, be proud. That is a different thing. Even when the children go wrong, the parent should be there to support the child and say, whatever you are, I am your father and you are my child. So that should be the attitude the parents take. When things go wrong, you give up on them is not advisable.
Yes.
I think
So
even
be there for them.
supporting them should be in the right way, because they should not abuse others, saying that no, my child has done wrong, but then still I stand with him. No? So that must be covered up in the right way and supported him so that he is not let out also. That is there. But I think parents must also be able to develop their emotional strength. Only then that maturity level should be created in them for them to understand. I think it is created because I'm a mother of a 20-year-old boy, and I understand that I have put in that maturity in him, telling that this is right and this is wrong. You must be able to differentiate that. Even while choosing friends, very, very important, especially when they're going out into the hostel, when they're going to a different place, when they're in the college. That is the age when they're easily carried away with anything. Now drugs are like everywhere. So we will not be able to identify. So I think maturity is actually put into them by teaching them this is how it is, and that should be done by the parent. Setting expectations, setting golden rules at home, that this is how it is. Every day, make it a point, even if your child is not with you, make it a point that you call the child or the child calls you. There must be a connection, and they must have the dinner time, which I spoke, should still continue even if the child has gone to hostel. They must still continue talking to the child. What happened in your day? How was the day? Did you have anything going wrong? Because maybe over the phone, the child might not open up himself or
Yeah,
herself.
so
So
communication is the
that
key,
must
no?
be there, because I think there are children who call the parents once they go to the hostel. They call them only once in a week, or maybe once in a while when they want pocket money. Only then they call the parents. So it should not be like that, but they must be spoken to on a daily basis. So I think that is very important, which is missing out in the modern parenting.
Yeah, and there are also parents who have different types of parenting styles also, no?
Yes.
So there are parents
Who are authoritative, who are
yes,
authoritarian. You have permissive parents, and you also have neglecting parents. I think these are the four
yeah.
parenting
Psychologically
types.
speaking, that is how
Yes.
we can put them into 4
And
categories.
I think
no?
among them, the authoritative parent stands the best, because
Authoritative parent.
yes, because they draw lines for everything, and yes, they are giving permissions for what has to be done, but there is a boundary set. I think it's
You know,
that's
if you
the
put
best
the
way.
term assertive, it will be better than authoritative.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
these days
Yes.
children want that freedom. At the same time, when you
Same time,
say
yes.
these are things you cannot do, be firm on that.
Parents also need to learn where to say no, right?
Yes.
Where do you draw the line? And
Yeah.
it can't be a parentified child.
The
What
child
of
has
that?
to hear a no at times in life. That will actually mold them better. Parents feel saying a no might lead them into different decisions, but teaching them at the right age about no will not lead them into a wrong decision. They'll be guided in the right way.
So, how are few ways that parents can stay in touch with the school? Because that is where children are. I think maybe for 6 to 7 hours a day, that is where a child spends their time. So, how do they keep in contact with a teacher or a school? And rather than you said how marks are very important, but there are certain things that are more important than marks in the longer course of life. So, how do they stay in touch and ask about the whereabouts?
I think I conduct orientation meetings for my parents every year, and I talk about parenting and things like that. I tell the parents how much interested you are in your child is how interested the teacher is in your child. So it is very important for parents to contact teachers, talk about what is happening in the class, contact friends and talk about what is happening in the class. The parent has to be in touch with what is happening in the child's life, in the school as well. Not only academics, all other areas as well. So it is important to keep in touch. The more, one day a parent calls a teacher and asks, how is my child? Even if the teacher does not know the child, does not know how the child is doing, the teacher will go back, check on the child
Yes.
and come back and report. So
Yes.
you are calling for the attention of the teacher when you make a contact with the teacher and talk to the teacher about the child. So it is important for parents to keep in touch, visit the school once in a while. Must find time. You cannot say, even for open houses, parents don't turn up.
Yes.
So it should not be the case. You must find time for your children. They are your children primarily.
And that
And,
the
yeah.
open houses don't happen every week or every month. It's just after a particular exam, maybe 1.5 or 2 months. So that time, parents need to be there to talk to the teacher. I think now schools are more open. I think even principals are more open to discuss anything with the
Yes.
parents. So I think parents must make use of that, have regular contacts with the teachers and the school, so that they get to know about each move of the child. This will automatically keep the child also in control. The child will know, okay, whatever I do at school is updated at home, and whatever is happening at home is also updated at school. So the child will start removing the dual face and try to remain the same person in both the places, and actually get a little more strength to face things in the world. That's what I
Yes,
felt.
and I think we will also understand children better.
Yes.
Because if they have any kind of struggles at home, because every family has a struggle, be it academic or stress wise, financial, different
Anything,
types of
yes.
struggle. So we would also understand the children more, and where do they come from, or why has he not submitted this, why has he looked very gloomy in class. So that is also very important for a teacher to address, because after parents it is teachers who come in the next place to make sure that the child has a trust on the teacher. So, and again, now that we've spoken a lot of about parents and what are the few things that they have to pay attention to. And I'm sure there are a few challenges that the parents face. Challenges like, how do they become more interesting than the screen that their child is looking at? Because the screen is very, very interesting for a child, and they can keep swiping on it, and especially if you're over 13 and 14 years and everything. So what is your take on that?
You should involve the children in all household chores. It is important for them to be participating in the home front as well. So, when there are families, I know of families where they say you're not supposed to check on WhatsApps once you're at home.
Okay.
Everybody stops, whether it is husband or wife or whatever, all of them, after you enter home, you
No
stop
WhatsApp.
checking, no WhatsApp. I know of families like that. So, you set rules like that and involve the children in everything you do at home. Children should be part of setting the table or bringing water or whatever. They should be there, whether it is cooking, there should be time where the family cooks together. They should plan things like that. It should not be just outings always. A family time means outings for most parents. It should not be the case. It should be, you must be able to find time for each other at home as well.
Working together is also important.
Working together is important. And, time for conversations. Think of, what they can talk about. Maybe bring in a topic of discussion at home and start talking about, to understand what the views of the children are. And the children also get to know about the parents' views. So that all will add to quality time the parents are able to spend with the
Let me share something
children.
interesting with you, which we do at school here. When you spoke about the household chores and all that which children do, so we're insisting on children to do small little works at home, maybe filling the water bottles, cleaning the table, as you said, or setting the table, or even cutting vegetables for the parents. It may be even sweeping or mopping the room. So all that we are encouraging them to do at home. Two ways of thinking. On one, we thought like nowadays parents don't allow them to do certain things. So I think parents must be able to give them that duty, let them do that, and they'll be independent. They will know to do what they have to do. That's one aspect of it. Second thing, we wanted to educate them or keep them financially, educated them about becoming very strong, how to handle money. So the small works, they're giving small amount for them. So they try to manage that and they learn how to do that, spend that for a charity purpose also. So we have just started that in the school, and I think children are slowly developing that skill. So I think you're always right in saying that children must learn, whether it's a boy or a girl, they must learn how to do the household
Well,
chores.
that is how a whole rounded development happens.
The
Exactly.
bonding also actually thickens with the mother and the father or the child, because you're all doing it together. Nobody's blamed for this is wrong or this is right. Anybody can get it right. So I think that is how a family can also take it up.
So that creates a very strong bond with parents. So that's something impressive that you shared. ma'am.
Rather
So-
than going anywhere outing.
Yes, rather than going out, because this age and time we give a lot of importance to emotional stress and how children are, what are the kind of stressors that they have. So, what are a few things that parents can observe, or how do you identify if there's a stressor or if there's a learning difficulty as such? Because a lot of times there might be children who have learning difficulty, and at age 6 or 7 and everything, they might find it very difficult to say it out loud.
But ma'am, I think over a period of time, just after COVID, I think just because children are using gadgets, there are so many children who have developed learning disability,
Yes.
behavioral aspects, so many. So I think that also is something which the parents need to be concerned, because they cannot just give a gadget and say, you can occupy yourself like this, let me do my work. This is leading into something which is much worse, which the parents don't realize actually. Very few identify that and realize that.
Learning disability, many parents are not able to identify. They think that the child is just lazy, the child has not worked,
not
and that is the
taking
reason
effort,
why the
yes.
child is not performing well. And it is mostly the teachers who identify that the child has a difficulty. And when it is conveyed to the parents, it is difficult for parents to accept that my child has a learning disability. So, but then, parents need to understand this is supportable. If you take care of children, they can come out of, especially when identified at an earlier age, if adequate support is given, they can be brought out of that situation to a great level. They may not be able to reach up to the level of the rest of the children, but they may be a little behind, but they'll be far ahead of where they started off from. So it is important for parents, as soon as they identify that the child is having a learning disability, it is first to accept that and then provide the child with adequate support. there are disabilities where children are not able to understand things. Reading difficulties happen, writing difficulties happen. So all these things we need to identify and support accordingly. And some children, they're not able to read because they're poor readers. They're not able to complete their academic portions and things like that. Parents should think of technology at those times. Maybe you can get a voice recorded lesson for the child, so that the child is listening rather than reading. So they need support. If you give them adequate support, you can bring them up.
What would be the kind of support that a child would get? Because at a younger classes, parents would be more comfortable because they feel they still have time to do the basics like reading and writing and everything. So what happens when a child is in grade 8 or grade 9 or the board exam class like grade 10? So that is where parents get really tense.
See, that is where I'm telling you, you provide them either video lessons or recorded lessons so that the child listens to, because they're not fast at reading. They may not be able to finish the portion. If they're able to listen to such things, maybe they'll be able to get things. And we have to worry about one more thing is, these children have a lesser focus in concentration in comparison to the rest of the children as well.
The attention span would be less.
Yeah, so the videos or the audio lessons created for them should have questions asked to them. Like it should be interactive, where the child has to respond to something to bring the child's attention back into what the child is reading.
Yes.
And it should be in smaller chunks and, get the child to sense the triumph. These children, because they have been failing, they have not been doing well, they feel they're good for nothing. But you give them small portions, tell them to learn that, question them on that, let them experience small, successes.
Victories.
And because of that, we should act as their,
motivation.
Motivation, to do further. So that way, if you get the children to get small successes in life, you can help them to move ahead.
True.
What you asked, ma'am, what can the children who have learning disability in the higher classes? First thing, as ma'am said, acceptance. When they identify the learning disability is very important. Not only accepting, I think now acceptance is like a little more better with the parents, because now they get to know, like parents are a little more educated or aware about, yes, this kind of disabilities are prevailing, my child might have one, is something. I think acceptance is getting better nowadays. But not only with that, once they accept it also, the worry of how my child is going to be there in the higher class is still existing. Most of them don't realize that they have provisions of, having a scribe or a adult prompter or even extra time during the examination, which the CBSE is permitting for the child. Most of them are not aware of it. I think as a school, we are responsible to tell them that this is there and hence don't worry. This worry might lead them to torture the child, study, do it, because this is how you have to do. So I think we need to educate and tell the parents that your child has got this disability. That is why we're asking them for an assessment report. And once you identify this is the category, we can tell them you have so many provisions in the CBSE.
One beautiful thing about this provision given by CBSE is it does not reflect anywhere on your marks or on your reports.
Good. Yes. Yeah.
So that the parents should understand. There are many parents who are reluctant to go in for such a certificate from the doctors to say that the child has a learning disability. They fear that this may affect the child's career in the future. But CBSE has put it in such a beautiful way that nowhere it reflects that the child has a learning disability, and all provisions are provided to the child. The child excels. The child is able to do well in the examination and get a triumph. Good. So parents should make use of such provisions.
That's a great initiative.
There's even subject changes. So where the child can do away with mathematics or science, which the child cannot do, and take up another subject and go ahead. So many provisions which the parent can actually get to know from the schools and take up that. Need not be worried that the child has got some learning disability. That's still something which can be overcome and the child can go ahead in life.
Now that you mentioned subjects, so I think math or reading, writing, these are the three main areas or the children struggle with. So do parents from a young age. So what tips can you give like young parents who have just started schooling with their children? What are the few things that they can do? Because I think online you get a lot of resources which says buy this or read this book before bedtime, or do this activity, that would be great. So what are the few practical things that they can do, because they're all back home after a long day of work, and there are certain things that they can do and certain things they won't be able to achieve. So what are the few achievable things for them?
Get the whatever little time they are able to spend with the child while the child is studying, put in, instead of just reading verbal, you make it more multisensory kind of teaching, so that the parents also should have some visual objects, auditory, some things to keep them going. These children are not able to focus because it is plain black and white letters and things
It's
like
not
that.
interesting
Yeah,
for them.
it's not interesting for them. So we need to focus on getting the child to study through multisensory approaches. Maybe some visual things, something children learn through everything. Even cartoons can be a way of teaching children. So from every angle the child is able to learn. We should take the right thing to get the child to focus. We need to understand what the child is actually interested in, what his style of learning is. Like you pointed out earlier, you were talking about learning styles. We should know what learning style the child has, and try and cater to what the child's learning style is. Some children learn very quickly with singing things.
Yes.
My daughter used to be like that.
Yes.
So anything taught in the form of a verse or a poetry or things like that, she learns very fast. So what I used to do is, get some of the things, formulas and things like that, put it into a song so that, she picks up things faster. So parents also need to be creative in especially when they identify that their child has some disability learning.
Right.
If parents find ways, and naturally there are professionals around. If you can afford professionals, try a professional also for the children. What mostly happens is, parents just send them for tuitions, and they think
And
that
from a very young age
tuitions
also,
should
yes.
create some magic for them. But tuition is just another class.
Classroom,
They
yes.
sit with so many students. So I don't think tuitions are working for them.
True.
So you need to identify it. So a therapy session would be better. If they think that the things are very costly, two or three sessions with the parent, with the therapist, the parent will understand. The parent can learn a lot of how the therapist is dealing with the child, and do the same at home.
Or at least an initial assessment about what are the different learning styles and
Yes.
what would be my child's like.
The most simple thing the parent can do is get storybooks to make them read. Get them away from the gadgets, make them read, and do small things at
Read
home.
out to them.
Yes.
Read out
They
to them.
they
Yes.
story-
Yes.
Yeah, they may not be interested in reading. Read out
Read
to
out
them.
to them, yes.
Yes.
And,
Slowly they will start reading.
There are various ways of books where you read a part and there is a picture. That picture will be spoken by the child. So there is continuous focus.
Continuity,
Otherwise,
yeah.
you read to the child walks out.
lost.
That's
Is
actually
lost.
like merging different learning styles, I
Ah.
think. Because when you read, if you're interested and if you're a visual learner, you read, if that is dominant for you. And if you're an auditory person, then seeing that picture or saying it loud helps you.
Helps you,
So it's brilliant. that there are
Similarly,
books like
convert
that.
things into a mind map for the children. This is the main idea. This is how it is. From these points you have to remember. Make a pictorial representation of what they're studying, so that that remains in their head. Depending upon how the child learns, the parent should be able to help the child learn. Similarly, tell the teacher, this is how my child learns. As the
True.
teacher's support,
Like we said
also,
earlier,
yeah.
how important it is to
It is to,
communicate.
yes.
Correct.
I think the pattern of learning will be set in a child once the parent is going to follow this. I think, as you said, ma'am, like your daughter, you were hand holding her till 6th standard, and how you put her from 7th standard. So I think if the parents are going to start doing this right from the young age or from the lower classes, slowly the child will understand, okay, this is how I need to prepare to appear for an exam or to go for certain things. So I think that learning pattern will be set in the child.
That learning to learn is very,
Learning
very
to learn, yes.
important. And I feel, like we said earlier, making them do a lot of work or making them be a part of everything that happens inside a house is also important. Because for them, learning should not be just about going to school, taking the books, doing the homework. Learning is in everything. Even the songs that they hear, the stories that the grandmothers used to tell, or parents sharing their own stories
Yes.
during dinner time or even a movie time. So learning is there in every single aspect. So that also helps the child to see or have an understanding that, okay, my learning is not confined to this book. My learning is more than that. I think such perspective is needed even for children to be resilient, or else they are in that comfort zone where my only job is to score some marks and then I get a reward for that. So
And also, the child should not feel I am the only person who has to be studying. I alone have study time at home. Parents are chilling.
Yes,
That
yes.
that feeling also is there. So if it is a study time for children, if the parents also think it is serious, leave out there watching TV and things like that, or mobile phones, they also sit together. If the father is reading something or something, doing some work on his laptop or things like that, the mother also assists in the thing. Things become better for the children.
Creating the atmosphere
Yeah.
for the child at home. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also very important.
And
from
if
a
there are
parent.
siblings, good enough. Get them to sit in one
Yes.
place. And if it is study time, make the best of it. Like all of them are studying together.
yes,
You know, if there is a particular period, time allotted for study, if all of them are doing that work,
Yeah.
that makes the child feel, oh, this is the time for me to study. And,
that setting the timetable also gives a lot of structure, no?
Yes.
That consistency for the child, and it is that time of the day. And I think it's important to, one thing that I see missing is none of the timetables have a lot of playtime. There's
Set by the
no-
mother?
Yes, or the mother or the parent or
or
father.
the school for that matter.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's true.
even for the school, because there's very less, because in school you would have 5-6 hours of math and you would have 1 hour of play. The same for children when they are back from school, they have very little time to play. And nowadays I don't see a lot of children playing outside on the grounds. They're all within the phone, because that is the reward that they get if they finish the portion. So how do you see this as an educator and as a parent? How do you see this pattern?
Play, are you talking about only physical play or all kind of play?
All kinds of plays, physical also.
Physical is important, I would say, because they should go out and play for some time, at least in a day, is very important. But at home, even while, even study can become a play. Like, you become the interviewer, you ask me question, I answer. That kind of things also can be fun for the children.
Or playing teacher when you're young.
Playing teacher, yeah.
Yes.
So if parents are creative, you can get the study time also to be very beautiful and, involving, the children. The children get involved in studying when the parents set an atmosphere like that at home.
There's a trade game which the children play actually. That's actually very good, where they learn how to handle money.
I know.
And so that's playtime. The children enjoy that, but obviously they're learning something out of it. So I think even those kind of playtime can be encouraged by the parent. Parent can also get involved in that. I think that game is involved about borrowing, mortgaging, all this stuff. So they're learning a lot of words in that. They're learning how it has been done. Parent can connect it easily with the real time life. So I think that is also some kind of games which the parents can encourage at home.
So speaking of that, financial literacy, right? That game is focusing on financial literacy, and that is also something that is very important for children. So how can we go about financial literacy, or what is your take on teaching them at a young age?
Parents do give children pocket money. Tell the children to save on your pocket money to, maybe fund your own needs later on. And give them an account. Tell the children you can save in that account and give them their own passbook and things like that. Let them keep a track of all that. Then that way they learn how to handle money as well. Every time they need not fall back on their parent for, all money requirements.
Right.
So they have their own money. But then you have to see, with freedom must come responsibility as well. So you must teach them responsibility before handing them money. So teach them how to handle it and be free about how they handle money. Especially in our culture, Kerala, they Vishu, they get a lot of money. And children splurge on unnecessary things. Instead, you teach them how to, sort. That's a lesson all adults also should learn. This percentage must go for this must go. Yes. So you teach the children that and tell you can spend this much. This must be your saving. So start them young, to start saving.
I think ma'am was right. Personally, when I look into myself, my children know what I get in my hand and what I save, what I spend and how I spend. So I think now when my son has gone to the hostel, he knows how to save a part of his pocket money, keep it aside. He has saved a small amount, and now he has explored a lot, and he's talking about mutual funds. He's talking about, let me invest it there. He's telling me, let me make money. So what are you going to do after that? No, let it be there. I'm going to take it. Let it be there. Probably after my retirement, it'll be of some use. So I think we should live and show it to them. This is how it happens. This is how we manage the finance. I think children will learn it. As a mother, from that perspective. But being a teacher or being in a school, I think we need to give them opportunities to prepare things or sell or buy or take them even to a supermarket to get something, so that they learn how money has been spent, or they even get to know the value of certain products. Some, yes, it happens when they go with the parents, but how many parents tell them that this is expensive, this should be used in a very judicious way, this is okay, you can use it? Or I think teaching them that is also very important. Putting them out in the supermarkets or giving them opportunities to do sales, taking care of the budgeting and all that will help them to learn a lot about the financial literacy part.
And also making them aware in this time when there's a lot of media attention on overconsumption. I think teaching children the difference between want and need.
Yes.
There are certain things that you need for your everyday life, but there's certain things that you just want for the sake of it looking cute or nice and everything. So that's also nice. And there are a lot of books nowadays, I think, for children to learn about financial literacy, even by different publishers, where they just start with like math problems that we used to have in school, how a cake shop and how that is not a, what do I say, how it can't go into an IPO, what is the reason for that. So that is very, very progressive if you look at the books in that manner. So coming back to parenting, so finally, what would you say should be self-care that the parent needs to do? Because there's a lot happening, be it looking after their children, their job, running the household and security and all those things. So it's very, very hectic to be in a parent shoe, and especially for a first time parent it would be even more difficult. So what would you suggest them as self-care, or what are things that they need to do so that they're more aware of whatever choices that they're making, their decisions, and how they come across to children? Like, they should not put their own insecurities or wants and everything on their child, which again leads to a bigger issue. So what would be your suggestion for self-care?
First thing, I feel parents should enjoy being a parent. They should not think that taking care of my child is a job.
Yes.
Relaxing with them, spending time lying next to the child is self-care for you also. You are lying down next to the child, you're taking rest at the same time.
True.
So that kind of a approach should be there. If you think that parenting is a job, then you are tired. So instead, you start enjoying every bit of, and the children grow very fast. They're going to be out of your hands by the blink of an eye. Time flies by. So enjoy and savor every moment you spend with the children and with the family. Think that you're contributing everything to the family, and that way, I don't think it becomes taxing or tiring for a parent. And try not to bring the office into the home.
Yes.
So when you're at home, you should have home time and relax. That way, things, you don't allow things to overlap, and keep it at a nice pace. That is what I would suggest every parent should be doing.
I think enjoying parenting is something very true. Hugging our children and telling them that we are there, or that warmth, giving them that warmth, actually gives us also a lot of positive thoughts in ourselves. It relaxes us actually. So I think that is very important as a parent first. And second thing, I see a lot of reels nowadays, parents saying the child is always calling mom, or the child is always crying. I think that is what children are meant for. And that is why we are mothers or we are fathers, to take care of them. And that need not be a crisis saying that I'm taking care of all this and I don't have a time. That's how our parents have taken care of us. So there's nothing to be a hue and cry about this particular stuff. I think children are for that, and being with them, spending time with them will obviously relax us. I think being at school, I always feel the moment we see the little ones, we forget whatever stress we have. Why can't the parents enjoy that when they have it at home? So I think that is the best self-care which a parent can have, spending time with the children in a very, very nice way without thinking about anything else.
Right.
And collaboration between the husband and wife in taking care of the
Yes,
children,
that's
that
also
is very important. It is not the mother's role alone to take care of the children
True,
anymore. The father should equally be responsible, sharing all the responsibilities. That way, the mother gets a little time off for rest and things like that, and the father can take care of the child at that time. That way, if they balance, both of them will be, will enjoy being a parent.
So unfortunately, even now we see a lot of mothers coming for open houses and
True.
parent teachers meeting. No, very less fathers.
Yes.
So I think we have talked a lot about parenting in general, what they should do in this modern age, and striking that perfect balance between discipline and giving them that freedom. So it has been a very enlightening conversation. And so parenting is a continuous journey, and there can be a lot of challenges, but like you said, there are certain rewarding moments for them to take them along that journey. So I'm sure whoever is listening to us, and they would have some takeaway from this. And I'm really thankful to both of you for joining us today. And it was a pleasure having you on our show, ma'am. And thank you so much for coming. And thank you, ma'am. And is there any final thoughts that you would like to share with us?
Thank you for having me here. It's been a pleasure for me as well. Both intellectuals learned a lot from you, because your perspectives also added to me. So it's been a good time talking to all of you. And I would like to tell the parents who are listening to us that, these are moments which you should cherish, make memories with your children that you will take, lifelong, you will experience and be happy.
Right. Thank you, ma'am.